in our most recent scenery change.
Starting to question how well this podcast is doing because every episode our table and set gets smaller and smaller. It looks different, but
you know what though? It's like
the fact we've been doing it with no real sports says enough. So now we have high school football, college football, and NFL. So
people are still tuning in. I mean, we have good views, and so can you imagine what it's going to be like now that we actually have sports to talk about?
now we skyrocket.
Now we don't have to talk about
the
pizza
moon.
as much, right?
Exactly.
We will still be talking about pizza.
Listen.
Linda, listen. Whoever is still listening and owns a pizza shop, if you still want to let us have some Friday night pizza to judge and talk about on the pod, we're down.
Because currently we can't order pizza
we didn't
because
have
we have no
pizza.
idea what the station credit card is.
I would like to point out that Allison's gone for 1 week during Extra Point, and all of a sudden nobody's eating pizza.
This was one of the very few weeks that I've actually been able to come back and be in studio. And the first thing I do is I walk over to Ian and I'm like, so where's the pizza? And it was just non-existent. It wasn't there.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Card got
I don't
declined
blame you.
again. We'll figure it out. We're going to figure it out this week.
I love that
figure it out.
we opened the sports pod with pizza. It was
It's just
Only
what we
place
do,
to
I
start.
guess.
I actually don't mind the round table because it brings me closer to you guys.
Wow, that's so nice.
That's so nice of me. Just kidding. It's
It's a feeling out process. We'll
Yeah,
we'll
It is.
find
The
the set
table's
eventually.
A little shaky.
It
I
is.
gotta admit,
we are
it is.
in our Goldilocks phase. We will find out
What's right.
What's
Good
right.
way to phrase it. Yeah.
But we're talking about Extra Point, and we're heading into week 2, which is week 3 if you
Week
count
0,
week 0.
week 1, week 2.
Still griping about that, but whatever. I digress. And Extra Point's been a hit. You guys have been crushing it. This week's game of the week, Tegan, do you want to tell us?
Yeah, let me think back. I was kind of very tired during this week's game of the week. It was Loris.
No, sorry.
This week's Ian McGuire
wait.
game of the week.
Ian McGuire?
Or sorry,
McGuire.
this week's McGuire Law Firm game of the week. Sockesty
Oh,
at
we're talking
Ainer.
about this coming week. I thought we were talking about
Yes.
last week. Oh,
Yes,
yes, it's
yes,
Sockesty at Ainer this week. The teams have never played each other before.
I thought that was weird.
I think it's so strange. And so Ainer spent the first 2 weeks of the season actually playing beach teams. So I was at their practice earlier today, actually. And they said they feel pretty prepared to play Sockesty only because the last 2 weeks they've been playing members of that class and everything. So they're a young team, Ainer is. I'm going to the Sockesty practice tomorrow, but Ainer just has a lot of young guys. Their quarterback, junior, starting for his first year, so.
Yeah, the realignment's been interesting because a lot of teams that used to be in the same region that aren't in the same region now are playing each other, which is kind of fun. I mean, to me, it's kind of like those top 10 kickoffs in college football. It's like rather than waiting to see Clemson and Georgia at the end of the season, you're starting off the season with a top, 15 matchup. So that's kind of cool. So I think high school football has been off to a good start. We had that Carolina Forest Hartsville game just last week, and I've never seen a high school game tie in my time here, so that was interesting. All the lightning delays and weather delays, things like that. So
I thought I actually, when I was doing the story this week for the rankings to see what the changes had been, and I had to ask Michael, our other digital guy. I was like, Michael, it says that Hartsville is 0-0-1. Like, what happened?
Yeah.
Like, I had no idea because I wasn't here last week, and so he's like, yeah, no, it ended in a tie, and I was like, how? Like, what is? But then he said that was a lightning delay, and they just kind of called it.
And since it's region play doesn't start until later in the season, it
It's
doesn't
like,
really
why
mean anything.
resume it? They're far away from each other, so.
Yeah. But it ended up being a good game. So that was, like I said, we've had some fun opportunities. Georgetown getting a win, so that was kind
Iconic.
of cool. First
Very
time
iconic.
in I don't know how many years.
4 years or something like that.
I think he's so if anyone listens, Alan Marcus, one of our producers, he's our, we do joke around, he's our Georgetown bureau because he's from Georgetown, and he always, if something's going on or if we need some sort of confirmation, he knows how to get that information for us. And it was so funny because Ian was getting ready to start the show. You were already out. You're still out in Florence, right? Because you were
Last week I was in Loris.
No, I know, but this is when Georgetown won.
Oh, this was Florence.
This was
yes.
week 0
Yeah.
when Florence was facing Florence, and and he's producing the first half of the show. Alan Marcus is. Alan Marcus comes out and he goes, "Do you have a final score for the Georgetown game?" And I said, "Yeah, Georgetown won 13-12, or maybe it was 12-11, something like that." And he looked at me and goes, okay, I just wanted to make sure you had the right score because my dad told me that was the final score and I didn't believe it. And I was like, oh, why? He goes, well, they haven't won in like 4 years. So I thought that was really cool, like to have that kind of iconic win. And you
That's super cool.
sold it really well during week 0's extra point. So.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's been a fun season thus far, and we're keeping it rolling and trying to bring more coverage than ever before on the extra point, bringing hopefully you eventually down the road. We had Emily Shearoff at Hartsville this week, which I'm glad we did because, someone that was able to stay for the entire game, even though it got delayed. And we got an awesome group of people that are willing to shoot for us this year, which we're very thankful for because I know it's tough these days to find people that want to go out and shoot high school football. I think it's fun. I've been doing it since high school myself.
Yeah,
It's
I love
great
it.
too for people who are just like building resume things. Like for me, for example, going out. So I'm going out this Friday. I'm getting out from behind the desk again. And it's fun because, I've spent the last 2 years behind the desk doing digital stuff. And so it's kind of nice to like get your head back in the game and kind of like dust off all the cobwebs of shooting stuff.
Yeah, it's cool just seeing like what the game environment is like because I think I talked about this on the first episode, but moving down here, high school football is obviously very different from Central New York. Those stands aren't full. You don't have people standing around the entire stadium on the outside of the gate. Here, it's every single game is packed beyond belief. It's just so cool to be a part of that environment.
Yeah, I think a lot of it, the towns, they're small. There's not a whole lot going on in the town except for football on Fridays. So that's a big draw to a lot of the towns. And we're blessed because a lot of the teams we have down here are good. We typically have at least 2 or 3 teams competing for a state championship by the end of the year, depending on,
South
what
Florence,
class and region.
last year.
I dropped one of our shooters in week 0 off at Doug Shaw.
Yes.
And I was stunned. I have never seen like a high school football field that looked like a professional football field. From the outside, I didn't go in, so I don't know what the inside looks like. But it's beautiful. I recently just came back from Canada, where I'm from. In case
You're from Canada?
I mentioned
Really?
I'm from Canada as much as she mentioned she's from Syracuse.
True. Very true.
If anyone doesn't know, Ian's from Ohio.
He is from Ohio.
But no, so I just came back from Winnipeg, and my cousin plays high school football, and it's a field that is run down. And parents just have to bring their folding camping chairs, and it's maybe a line of 20 people at most. So the fact that these games have full attendance, people standing room only kind of thing, and they have bands. They don't even have announcers in Canada, or at least in these Canadian games. So it's really cool to see, like you said, the culture that's around Southern high school football.
It's crazy. It's so cool, though.
Is it like that in Ohio?
Oh yeah, football's king in Ohio, big time, especially high school sports. It's kind of cool being from Ohio. I went to Texas. Texas, obviously, it's crazy there.
Yep.
So I've seen high school football in Texas, and even coming here, it's cool to see all these different variations of the sport. And I'm glad that I've been in different markets to have towns that support their teams. So that's been really cool. And we'll see how the rest of the football season goes. Got a few more weeks of non-conference, matchups. And then we get into region play, and that's where things get real interesting because you have that 4 to 5 week stretch where you got to get things rolling because once you're down, even 1-1 in your region can be the difference between a home game and a road game, or outside looking in when playoff time comes around.
Absolutely. And so with this week's game of the week being Saukesty at Ainer, Saukesty's still looking for a first win.
Yeah.
Ainer's tied up 1-1.
No, Ainer's 2-0.
Did they not
They
lose
beat
week
Aiken
1?
and St. James.
Yeah.
Oh, they beat Aiken. You're right. My apologies. Look, there you go. 2-0, 0-2. You can catch highlights for those games, those previous games, on our website, but you can also check out how it turns out this Friday on Extra Point at 11:15.
Yeah.
Are you guys both in the studio?
I
think so. Yeah, I'll be
Not too
close
far.
enough. Ainer's only 40 minutes away, so.
All right. Well,
Best Wendy's on 501. Check it out.
you actually talk about that Wendy's a lot.
I'm going to plug it.
Wendy's
Sponsor us.
But so check them out. But heading from high school to college, CCU. CCU just came back from
CCU.
Jack State where they steamrolled Jack State.
Yeah, I mean, I was at that game, and I think Coastal knew going into it that they were going to grab the dub. They were pretty confident about it. But the odd makers had them sort of like, I don't even think.
I watched the pre-show on CBS.
Yeah, but he was doubting
everyone
them.
was picking Jack State, and then halftime comes around and they're like, oh, yeah.
They're like, actually.
I don't think, did anyone do their research for this game?
Apparently not.
I mean, when you look at Coastal, I mean, 60 new faces?
66 new names on the roster.
So, I mean, it's very easy for the national media to
just take that
just
and run
wipe
with
them
it.
off and be like, well, who knows what this team's going to look like, which again goes back to my griping of preseason rankings. It's all a load of crap.
Yeah, and we'll get
no
to
one knows.
FSU in a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I think that people were also concerned about the quote-unquote question mark with Ethan Vasco versus Noah Kim. But I mean, honestly, for the past 2 weeks before the start of the season, every time we asked Coach Beck about it, he was like, well, Ethan has an edge. He's been here a little bit. But also, Kim is, a great player from Michigan State and everything. But just the way that he talked about Vasco, that whole edge and the calmness about him and all this stuff, I was not at all surprised
I don't think
when
anyone
he was
was.
out there. Yeah.
Do you think, though, because we talked about this, so Tim Beck, if anyone isn't aware, he was asked before the Jack State game, hey, do you have a QB1? And he said, well, we'll see.
You'll find out at 7 o'clock in Jack State.
Yeah, and his reasoning for it was, well, we don't want to give them
It's a competitive advantage.
Which
it's
yeah,
true.
we didn't know who their quarterback was going to be either starting.
I mean, coming in, you have Ethan, they have tape on him. They can go in and they can look and see what to prepare for. I mean, that's kind of like the Steelers right now. I mean, they're naming Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
He's going to be the quarterback, but you also have someone in the backfield like Justin Fields. They still got to prepare for, and I think that's a very good comparison with Coastal. I mean, they've got several quarterbacks that can jump in, and that's kind of what we saw last year with McCall and Ethan. Even when McCall was healthy, Ethan would jump in from time to time, and so you never really know what's going to happen with Coastal, but I think for their first game, it was a good showing, especially being on the road. Rich Rodriguez, he's known for what he did at West Virginia. Obviously, his Michigan days weren't great, but still, a big name like that, trying to rebuild a program with Jack State, and showed out. They went out and they played till the very end. So to be able to put up 55 points.
55 points. They put Kim in at the end for a couple of snaps. He threw a 6-yard touchdown, I think. So fans got to see a little bit of him. They put a lot of younger guys in that last quarter, which is really where you saw the majority of mistakes during the game, and it's just because
when you're winning, there's not.
Yeah, Beck wanted to give
much.
Those third string, fourth string guys the chance to get in, the chance to play. And he was saying in his presser earlier, because he had his weekly press conference today, that, those freshmen made mistakes, but they were true freshmen. They have to play, they have to learn, and they have to put in the time on the field in order to do that.
That was a good time. Like I said, it's a good time to do it in any sport, really, when it's near a blowout, just to let players do what they can so they can get that actual experience rather than just in practice.
So obviously Coastal heading home this weekend for their Teal Turf debut. Those 66 new names going to be on the Teal Turf for the first time, which will be super cool. But also first time for a lot of in-game kind of traditions, things like that. Chance Miller, the new AD, he is adding pyro towers, teal smoke, a DJ booth in the student section, which is renamed the Conwave.
I got questions about that in a sec.
It's a brand new entrance. There's a new scoreboard, a new ribbon board, and then obviously right across the street, they're working on the gigantic indoor training facility, which has a roof on it now.
By far the fastest construction
Oh my gosh,
build
it's gone
ever
up
in
so
Horry County.
fast.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Oh my
if you want
gosh.
something done in Horry County, just throw $1 million at Coastal, and boom,
They'll do it.
they'll put it up.
Yeah, that thing is gigantic.
I have 2 gripes about all the things you just listed.
Okay, got it.
We'll come to Conwave first.
I think it's sick.
I think it's cool.
I don't think I've ever heard of somebody naming their student section.
And then
there's
yeah.
the Cameron
What?
Crazies.
Otto's Army.
Specifically the student section?
Yeah.
Do they not
maybe.
do this in Canada?
Not in North Dakota. I went to school in the U.S., but they didn't do it in North Dakota. It was just the student section.
Interesting. No, they're their nicknames, different schools and things.
Okay, well, so then my gripe isn't much of a gripe because apparently this happens everywhere, and I just didn't
And
know.
apparently, I heard this. Do you guys know who Coastal Banana Man is? He dresses up as a banana at all
yes,
the
yeah,
games.
yeah.
He puts on a cape. He just got a tattoo of himself. Anyway, I digress. He told me that apparently they want, I don't know how true this is, but apparently they want students to be able to ride the Conwave. So they're going to lift students?
That's a liability issue.
I don't know. He said
to
that
sign a waiver first.
he said that he is going to do it. So I don't know if just the students have organized this themselves or if this is like a official activity on the wave. I don't know. They keep saying it's going to get choppy, and I don't know if that's just like a metaphor or something, or if they're actually going to do something like that.
Well, if you're going to do crowd surfing,
Right.
first and foremost, you need a crowd. So
You do
coastal
need it, so
fans,
students.
that coastal student section,
You
you
can-
better show out because
stay.
stay for the whole game, because if that chop doesn't come until like the third or fourth quarter, there are going to be some
gonna
people
be sad.
that are
There's
going
gonna
to
be a
falling.
gap. Like they're gonna whoop, down. But my other gripe, I keep saying
Sure.
it's a gripe. You listed a whole bunch of new things, right?
I did, yeah.
And one of the things that I know about sports very well is superstition, right? If you have things that are new, doesn't that like kind of like negate the
So-
whole like, hey, I need my lucky sock that I have to put on my left foot first?
Here's my thing with that, because so I was at the Teal kickoff event a couple weeks ago, and I was asking Coastal fans about tradition, because quite honestly, the only one that I really noticed last year being at all these games, they play Thunderstruck by AC/DC right before kickoff. Chauncey comes out on his jet ski thing, and then at one game each year, they have like the motorcycles with, I don't know, I think veterans come out, but that's only at one game. And really, those are like the only traditions, quote unquote, that I've seen at Coastal. So honestly, I think it's cool that they're adding all these things, and hopefully they will add actual things that these fans are like, wow, this can become like a year after year thing, and this is going to be cool. Because I think motorcycles are going to be at every single entrance this year. So that'll be cool.
Well, that game is on Saturday at 7 o'clock,
Yep.
and it'll be my very first Coastal game.
Yes.
I've been here for 2 years. It's just really hard once the season starts.
Yeah.
This is the same way that I compare it to my husband really, really wants to go to the water park across the street. And for the last
I've never
2
wanted to go.
He's a fish. He's my little fishy.
I see.
But he has wanted to go to this water park. And every weekend I go, okay, next weekend. Then all of a sudden the season's over and it's closed.
Yeah, it's kind of weird when you live in a coastal town and like I mean, it's warm until November, but yeah, come Labor Day they're shut down and it's bye. Thanks for
Yeah.
a good season.
Exactly. So that's how I actually compare it to coastal football. It's like, okay, well, I'll
Okay.
do it when I'm not busy with something else related to the fall.
Just got to do it.
Yeah. So I'm
Keep
gonna
putting
do
it off.
I'll be there this Saturday, which I'm really excited for. But you spoke to Tim Beck today. You were talking about.
I did.
Because as we're recording this is Wednesday, you talked to him during the news conference and what he's expecting.
Yeah, he obviously has looked at the tape on William and Mary. They're a veteran-heavy team. Their quarterback has been there all 4 years, which is obviously a pretty big difference from Ethan Vasco going third string last year, now starting. They just have a ton of guys who have been there forever. But Beck said he watched it. They're all feeling pretty confident this week. Vasco said he was feeling confident. But honestly, going back to that environment, they're pretty excited about that. They're just excited to be home. And Coach Beck talked all about experiencing that.
The games are usually about us and ourselves, or it's us versus us every week. And that's how this week is. That's been our approach, is just making sure that we go out there and that we continue to improve, just get better at everything, right? You know, it could be chasing the ball. It could be ball security. It could be, you know, a route depth on a certain play. I mean, there's a bunch of little minute things, but at the end of the day, you also don't want to choke on that stuff. You know, guys played really hard. They played together. That's the stuff that you look forward.
Well, South Carolina, they got the win. Probably not
Not
in the
in
way
the
that they wanted
cleanest
to.
way.
I know
Yeah.
Alan Marcus was at the game, and he was actually like FaceTiming us while we were also doing our fantasy football draft, and I thought he was going to have a heart attack. He was not very happy with the way the Gamecocks performed against Old Dominion, and former Bruins quarterback at South Florence, Lenora Sellers, getting the start. No touchdowns, but he had a decent game. You know, I felt like it was like a feeling out process for him. Even he admitted this week he didn't play his best, but I mean, considering you're going from South Florence, basically sitting out a year, to playing SEC football, you know, that's a big jump no matter what. And I feel like for a while, South Carolina has been looking for a stable quarterback, and it's been kind of different people in and out. And I think you finally, for the first time, have a legitimate superstar that can develop, and if you stick with him over time, by that hopefully end of the season and hopefully going into sophomore, junior year, you have a superstar in the making. You just got to be patient.
Yeah.
And I think that's the one thing with Gamecock fans that drive me nuts. It's like they go in thinking that they're going to run the gauntlet year after year. And I love the enthusiasm, but, you're in the SEC. Getting out at 500 is, I think, more realistic expectation with some of these fans.
Yeah.
But, when you are playing Old Dominion, you are expecting at least to kick off the season more.
You would hope. Yeah.
No, go nuts.
So Coach Beamer, I was watching his press conference earlier, and he was talking about the fact that, one, this is, a home opener, so first time for Lenoris in front of that crowd, and then obviously a big crowd with, to whether they realize it or not, putting a lot of pressure on a kid who just graduated high school and then all of a sudden is thrown into this football powerhouse type of environment. Coach Beamer said it, Lenoris kind of mentioned it, that's tough.
It is.
That makes you nervous, and understandably so.
And I think there was a weather delay too. I think there was a gap in between the halftime and stuff, so that kind of a lot of the fans left, and it kind of, I guess, deflates the atmosphere. But hopefully, they got a heck of a start to the season. They'll be playing Kentucky here next, which is no easy task, and I think LSU's on the horizon as well.
I think so, yeah. South Carolina's beat Kentucky the last 2 years in a row, and then Kentucky had won the 2 years before that. So I know South Carolina leads in the series, but...
Yeah, and Kentucky is one of those sneaky teams where it's like everyone looks at them as a basketball school, but, football-wise, they've been competitive year after year. Again, kind of one of those teams in the SEC where, okay, they're not going to run the table, but you never know what's going to happen. But then switching over to the other side of the state with Clemson, ouch.
Ouch. Very ouch.
I've said a few weeks ago
Big
when we were
ouch.
looking at it, I could legitimately see Clemson starting 1-3, if not 0-4, because I think they're getting ready for App State.
Yeah.
Yes.
And App State's no picnic. They've been that team that can put it on you. They had that iconic win in Michigan years ago, and that kind of put them on the map. And they've been, that Sun Belt star for a while of, the championship goes through App State. So Dabo, obviously on the hot seat, I think, to say the least. His contract's through, I think, 2031, 2032, so he's not going anywhere anytime soon. If not, there's a hefty buyout for him. But
it's a win-win.
It is. You know what? Get paid to do nothing.
But you look at the schedule, it's like, would you rather start your season against the number one team in the country?
Right.
Or do you want to play, a small podunk team,
right,
beat them by 75?
Well, you look at schools, too, like LSU that just had their 4th season in a row losing the opener to the season and just being so unbelievably frustrated by that. And it's like, well, you're not like Alabama where you played one of those super easy teams and beat them 70-0. You're starting out with a powerhouse.
Yeah, I think the playoff is going to change a lot of that, because now if you win your conference, you're automatically in with a bid with those 1 through 5. And that was always my gripe, because it's like, especially in the Big Ten, you have teams like Penn State, Ohio State, and Michigan who would always be undefeated. Then they would have to play each other. And most of the time, Penn State would have 2 losses on their resume, usually to Michigan and Ohio State. And then Michigan and Ohio State would play each other, usually undefeated. And then it's like one of them has to play, one of them has to lose. Obviously, unfortunately, Ohio State's on the losing end, which is not something I'm typically used to. But I always threw the, opinion of, well, what if Ohio State and Michigan played at the beginning of the season? It's all recency biased, because those teams that lose at the beginning of the season, by the time November rolls around, no one really remembers what that one loss was. You're, 9-1, 10-1. 'Cause that's kind of what LSU did. They lost that season opener, and then they ran the table for the most part through the SEC. And but Georgia, man, I think good luck to anyone who plays them.
Yeah, Clemson hasn't scored a touchdown against Kirby Smart or Georgia since 2014, I think the second quarter of their matchup that year. That's like more than 30 consecutive drives. Clemson just hasn't scored against them.
Yeah, and Georgia, 40 straight in a row, which is just wild. 40 straight regular season victories. As far as Clemson goes, I know Dabo has been, not a fan of the transfer portal. obviously that's been biting him in the butt here in recent years. So I think if you go back, Coach K never wanted to do the whole one and done thing. Then eventually he caved and started winning national championships again. So we'll see if that ends up being what Dabo has to do. But overall, 2-1 if you're a Carolina fan. So the unusual loss from Clemson, but hopefully they get back on their winning ways, and we'll see. And speaking of a former Tiger, DJ Uyunglele, now at Florida State, man. This guy had so much hype coming in as a Tiger. Then he went to Oregon State, and now he's was going to be the savior of FSU. And sorry, Robert Whitehurst, but good Lord, 0-2 to start the season. No one, I think, would have predicted that.
I guess we have also, so if anyone doesn't know, Robert Whitehurst, our meteorologist, FSU alum. We also have Hunter as an FSU alum.
Oh, I didn't know that. Wow.
I'm pretty sure that's his half of his brand as a human being is that he went to FSU. I'm almost positive. I could be wrong. If Hunter, you're listening.
That seems like most Florida State fans.
Yeah. I mean, it's most Syracuse fans too.
You know what? That's true. I am 100% of my personality so.
But you fall from 10 out of the rankings completely.
I mean,
as they should.
They got smashed by both teams. So.
Again, I'll go back to it saying preseason rankings are a load of crap.
Worthless.
We're sitting here looking at a team, and even comparing it to CCU. I mean, it's a completely different team. You can't say, this team with Grayson. Grayson's in NC State. They're in
the rankings
move on.
Now.
I feel like it's just because they say, 66.
For FSU or for
CCU?
Coastal 66?
66. They look at that and they say, oh my gosh, 66 new players. They're not going to have an ounce of cohesive.
Right. Well, that's what people thought. Yeah, going into week 1, they were like, these new people, you guys aren't going to be it. You're going to lose. And then, bam, here we are.
I feel like
FSU didn't exactly have the same. It could be the opposite, like FSU.
So I understand. I'm starting slowly to understand your gripe with preseason.
It's all a bunch of it's for television.
Yes.
I mean, it's a lot
and
easier
podcasts.
to sell.
Yes.
It's a lot easier to sell number 1 Georgia against number 14 Clemson, battling it out, and a number, So it's just, and it's voted on by the AP, which at the end of the day, those rankings mean nothing. They don't determine. I mean, the College Football Playoff Committee, they don't put anything out until it feels like week 10 almost. So, and you need that. Take the time to figure out who these teams are. It's like, let's just start week 1, no rankings. I mean, if people want to put them out of what they think they are going to be, sure. But, I mean... Good Lord, both of y'all are yawning.
Sorry.
It's been, okay, first of all.
It's been a day.
It's been, if we can rewind for a second, for the two of you, your schedules, last week were wild.
They were insane.
And we've talked about this in episode 1, where people kind of don't really look behind the curtain when it comes to local sports. Tegan, she just yawned again. Tegan went to Jack State on Wednesday, right? Worked the game Thursday, came back Friday in time for extra point.
I left at 6 a.m. on Friday. I had gone to bed at 3 Central Time.
Central Time, a whole hour difference. And then worked extra point. Where were you, Aner?
I was in Aner. No, I was in Loris. I'm in Aner this week.
Yeah. See, now I'm confusing it. And then you worked all until the end of the show.
Yep.
It's true.
All of which she volunteered.
Yes, I did, and it was so fun.
Absolutely.
Yes,
we're not
checked
we're not throwing anyone under the bus.
No.
But I want everyone to know how hard these two work. Between Ian and Tegan, you guys are crushing it, and that's why we yawn sometimes. I have no excuse. I'm just an old lady, and I like to yawn because I don't get 12 hours of sleep every day, which I need.
Right. So yeah, I mean, Florida State, they'll see again. It's one of those things. They could go ahead and win out and somehow make it to the ACC championship game, and we'll see.
Yeah.
But DJ, I think this is it for him. I was kind of surprised that he even stayed in the game. I was expecting them to put in but I don't even know if they have a quarterback with Florida State. But I think if you're looking overall with college football, Ohio State came out a little flat against Akron to start out their first game. Just going down kind of the list, I think Michigan looked decent against Fresno. overall, Alabama looked like they
Wow.
did not
Yeah.
miss a beat. I will say I will give props to Kyle McCord over in
Over at
Syracuse.
Cuse now.
You know, I mean, I have to sit there and say, where the hell was that at Ohio State? Because you did jack crap when you were a Buckeye. So, but hey, good for you. And finally finding a place that fits. So
That's true.
I think that's the whole thing, right? Finding the place that fits.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you could be with an award-winning program, but if
Yeah.
you're not vibing, it'll show.
Syracuse actually played one of the Myrtle Beach Bowl teams from last year, good old Ohio University.
Oh.
So-
Athens, Ohio.
Yeah, the Bobcats, I think. Yeah.
I almost
So-
said the Catamounts, but that's Vermont.
That's a up north.
They
up
look the
north.
same. They're green and green
cat?
and a cat.
Sure, yeah.
So
Yeah. So overall, I think right now you're seeing kind of the cards will start to kind of
Yeah.
align. But I mean, there was definitely that week one woe. Oregon was a team that I think a lot of people expected to, pick right back where they left off, and they looked very slow in their first game. So we'll see what happens in week two. Week one is always kind of that preseason hit or miss, find your footing kind of thing.
You get those easy teams scheduled
Yeah.
too.
Miami
for
looked
some
good.
people.
For some people.
Yeah.
someone's eventually got
Not
to play a
Clemson.
hard team.
Yeah,
Not
Miami
Clemson.
looked really good against up against Florida.
Yeah.
And Florida and Billy Napier, they're trying to figure it out down there. So
Yeah. I was joking in my head. Now I'm going to say it out loud. You are the only person who can actually pronounce DJ's last name on this podcast, so I just let you take one for
Yeah.
the team.
I've
because
tried to say that on TV before, and I genuinely am like, all right, you know what? Moving
well, he's
on.
been in college for it feels
Forever.
like forever. So
Yeah.
it's like I remember when he first came in.
Wait,
and,
say it again. How did?
Is it
Ooey-
DJ Uyunglele?
I think so. Yeah.
And he has a brother too, doesn't he?
He does.
Also with the same last name?
Yes.
I assume.
Well,
Wow.
yes.
Well, no, you
That's
could
how-
have a brother
mean,
with a
that's
different
true,
last
true,
name
true.
for sure.
Yeah, he's got a brother somewhere. It's either that or it's Tua. Maybe it's Tua's brother.
To a tug.
Yeah. Doesn't his last name?
I
start
should
with
know
T?
this, but I don't know this. But
He
we're
was at
talking about
Maryland.
Maybe.
Someone was. It's either an Uyunglele or a Tungavailoa that's at Maryland.
you're
That was
actually
it.
really good at these names.
Well, it's part of my job, speaking for a living.
No,
so,
I know, but I married a man with a really interesting name, and I still have a hard time saying it.
Yeah.
It's yikes.
People
But
say my first name wrong all the time.
really
Last-
Tegan.
Yeah, they say
Tegan.
Tegan or Tiagin, Tijin. I get all
My
them.
maiden name Bento was super easy to say. No one ever messed it up ever since being married and having Kanuha as my last name. I can't even say it half the time. So, but talking about really interesting names, I am blessed. My name is Allison Bento, Kanuha, whatever you want to call me, and no one's ever gonna put me on Sports Center as the weirdest name. Which brings me to our trivia this week. We usually say trivia for the last, but I thought this was fitting. I'm gonna quiz you too. I've compiled a list of, I gotta count, I think it's 10 names, okay? 10 names of current college football players. I had a couple different names on here that I had to take off because they are now actually in the NFL, and I wanted to make it fair in case you need to go into your NFL or your college football bank.
Dive into our knowledge.
Okay, so.
It's more like true or false. Is this?
So is
this-
it
yes.
real or fake?
Is it real or is it fake? You get a bonus point. You guys are facing off against each other. You guys get a bonus point if you can tell me where they play.
Oh,
We
we're
have to
facing
buzz
off.
in or
No, because you can just
Do we
answer.
hit the helmet?
Hit the helmet. If anyone's listening, there's a helmet in front of us. Okay, I have 10 names, and some of these are absolute baloney. Some of these are real names, and some of these I took from Key and Peele. So have fun with that. The first name we have is Rowdy Beers. Is that real or is that fake?
Real.
Rowdy Beers.
I'll say real.
Rowdy Beers is real. Congratulations.
Let's
Do you know
go.
where he plays or what position he plays?
Definitely sounds like a lineman.
I'm
gonna say defensive line.
Yeah.
Okay, so Rowdy Beers is actually a tight end for
Oh.
Florida International.
Okay then.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, I had to really dig deep for that one.
Currently?
Wow.
Currently, these are all current
Wow.
players. I had
Okay.
to look it up because like I said, I had some. I'll give you another one. There was a guy last year who now plays for the Saints. Kool-Aid McKinstry.
Yeah.
Yes, I remember him.
He
yeah.
used to play for Bama. Now I had to take that name off because we're looking
Yeah.
at college names. Okay, next name on this list is Quattro.
Fake.
Yeah, I'm gonna say fake. Key and Peele.
That's Key and Peele. That is Key and Peele. Quattro.
I have a question.
Yes.
What is Key and Peele?
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Sorry,
so,
I don't know what it is.
Key and Peele. It's like a.
It's a sketch show.
Yeah.
I don't even know if
Okay.
are they still on.
I don't think so. But if you ever want to look up, anyone listening to, if you want to look up Key and Peele football names or football draft or whatever, there's a really funny sketch of.
They basically make fun of the Sunday Night Football entrances where they
Nice.
introduce themselves, and they just come up with like the craziest names and schools and things like
Yes.
that. So
There's one name that they do that I didn't put on this list because I can't make the sound. It just says in parentheses dolphin sound, and the guy goes.
Wait, I feel like I've seen these.
100%,
Yes.
you have.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, the next name I have.
2-1.
Did she say? You said. Oh, you got wrong. Okay, so.
Wait.
I love that he's keeping score. Ian has 2.
I said fake.
I said Key and Peele though, so I get the bonus, right?
Oh, you do get the bonus. Okay, there you go. All right, we're gonna. Okay, next name. Tiger Shanks. Tiger Shanks.
Real.
Fake.
Tiger Shanks is an offensive lineman for
Dang
UNLV.
All right.
I'm sorry, I didn't give you the chance to
Wait,
respond.
don't I have 2 because I got the first 2 right?
There you go.
Yeah.
Sorry, he had an extra point. They're keeping track here. They're keeping me. Oh, the extra point. Thanks. All right, next name is Pig Cage. Pig Cage.
Fake.
I'm gonna say real.
It's real.
What the heck?
I'm gonna say he's from Arkansas.
That's actually, I think it's close. I'm not like super certain my U.S. geography. Louisiana Tech.
No, that's close. That's Terry Bradshaw.
That's like, he's a
Louisiana
cornerback
Tech, yeah.
for but he didn't always play for Louisiana. I had it on a different piece of paper, but he played for someone else before. This is like a new season for him here. Okay, so you got the,
Fun fact with Louisiana Tech: have you ever watched Duck Dynasty?
yeah?
The founder of Duck Dynasty, Phil Robertson.
Yeah?
He actually played for Louisiana Tech.
Really?
With Terry Bradshaw.
Oh!
Wow.
And there's many that say he was better than Terry Bradshaw, who would obviously go on to win 4 Super Bowls with the
But
Steelers.
He chose
Dang.
Ducks.
He chose Duck Dynasty.
He chose Duck Dynasty.
and that really beautiful wife of his. All right. Are we ready for the next one?
Yes.
As I'll ever be. She's already laughing. Oh no.
Thickums McMahon. Thickums McMahon.
I'm going to say fake.
Fake.
That's big. I just made that one up. I asked ChatGPT to give me a name. It gave me Thickums, but I didn't like the last name.
What was the last name?
I
it came
can't
up
remember.
with?
It was like
Oh gosh.
it was. I honestly wasn't good, so I just like picked a real like McMahon being a real name.
Yeah.
All right, that one is fake. All right, next one. Dude persons.
Real.
Dude persons.
I'm going to say fake.
Dude persons is a real player.
Let's go. Wait, can I guess where he plays?
Yep.
I'm gonna guess a state. I'm gonna go with, is he somewhere in California?
No, I will give you a hint for half a point. The state has already been mentioned.
Florida.
Arkansas.
Arkansas.
Yeah.
He plays for Central Arkansas. Okay, so you
Interesting.
get 1.5 points. All right. Well, I keep looking at the wrong piece of paper.
How many more we got?
1, 2, 3. You have 4 more.
4 more.
All right.
Wow.
Hingle McCringleberry.
Fake.
Fake.
It's fake. It's from Key and Peele. That is an interesting one. But I was like, you never know. It could be real. All right. Booby Curry.
Real.
Real.
Booby Curry. Booby Curry is a real player. Who does he play for?
Let's go with, I'm gonna go with Florida team, because why not?
You're going to be so disappointed.
Dang
What do
it.
you think?
Let's say some team in Texas.
Both you were wrong. He plays for the Buffalo Bulls.
Like
Okay.
like the
University, I guess.
University of Buffalo?
Buffalo?
Yeah.
I double checked.
Yeah,
I was like,
in
it
the
kept
MAC?
saying, what?
In the MAC?
Yeah.
Oh, I had no idea. I was like, this
Coastal
is not a
played there couple
typo.
years ago.
Okay, so you
That's
guys
right
each
near my
get
hometown.
a point because it was real. There you go. Turbo Runner.
That's awesome if it's real.
Turbo Runner.
I'll say real.
I'm going to say fake.
It's fake. Yes! I get so excited when I stump people. I was trying to make it as legit as possible. Turbo was another one from ChatGPT, but then I didn't like the last name again, so I just put runner. Because in Canada, we call sneakers runners.
Oh.
There you go, fun fact. Okay, last one, guys. Chonk, chugger. Chonk, chugger.
I'm going to say real. I hope. Maybe a lineman.
Say fake, I hope.
It's fake.
That's disappointing.
Chonk chugger would be such a good name, right?
Yeah, especially like I could see like a defensive tackle or a lineman just coming over.
Here's my list if anyone can. There you go.
Wow.
I had Chonk Chugger, Turbo Runner.
All right.
And then here is my list of real or fakes, just so you know I'm not cheating here. I did not mention Storm Duck. He's a real player because now he plays for the Dolphins. He's not a college kid anymore. But Storm Duck, I think, is a really strong name. And I think he played for Oregon, too. I might be making that up. No, he played for UNC. I lied.
My favorite name on Coastal is McDoom.
McDoom?
Yeah, his last name is McDoom. I can't remember his first name at the top of my head, but yeah.
There's a guy who plays, I don't know if it's UNC. It's somewhere in one of the Carolinas. I almost used Demon Clowney. And I'm certain that his name is probably pronounced Damon. I'm hoping it's pronounced Damon. But, like, it looks like Demon Clown. So I thought, maybe I should put that in there. But I had to limit it, and I could play this game forever. So hold on.
I like
2,
this
3,
game.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8 for you, Ian. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8.5 for Tegan.
Let's go.
Tegan wins.
Good game.
Oh, gosh, that's so much fun.
Thank goodness I guessed Arkansas.
Arkansas, the half point. I should have had an extra one. But speaking of those two players that are now in the NFL, we have NFL ahead of us.
Yes. The Panthers.
The
Bears. That's so fun. I'm so jealous that franchise gets to just say that whenever they want.
The
Bears.
But we're going off the rails. We have the Panthers, who are coming off a horrendous season. And we have a pretty young QB with Bryce Young. I think now his second season.
This is his second year. Yeah. The Bama alum, the Heisman winner. Last year they went 2-15 overall. That was their worst season since 2010 when they went 2-14 overall. In one of those games last year, I can't remember who it was against for the life of me, but they literally won with 3 field goals. Like the Panthers literally won for that reason. Yeah. So I'm hoping it'll be a more successful season. I mean, all their preseason press conferences, Bryce Young and his teammates talk about the fact that in the offseason, Bryce kind of like tried to focus on being an NFL QB rather than being where he was stuck in, which obviously Bama is one of the best programs ever, but the NFL is just a whole different story.
Yeah, I mean, I think in that case, this organization, I mean, it starts at the top. I think David Tepper is a horrible owner. I think
I agree.
He has no patience. He is just got to have himself involved
especially with
in
the coaches.
everything.
No patience.
I look at Matt Rule and what he's already doing at Nebraska. I think he's going to be a great coach there. He's done it before at Baylor. He's done it before at Temple. I think he was just set up for failure from the beginning. Frank Reich, I think, was a good, decent guy. I don't know if – I mean, he didn't even get a full season. No. But, I mean, he just looked deflated. He just looked like he just hated going to work every day. And now you have Coach Canales. We'll see how he ends up doing. He's young. He's youthful.
His first time as a head coach.
He's done fairly well with quarterbacks. He had a really nice season with Baker Mayfield in Tampa last year. So we'll see. But – I mean, when you got a weird owner who's pulling off at, sports bars in the Carolinas because he doesn't like what their sign says.
Oh, right.
And
I remember that.
throwing beer at fans in the stands from his little owner's suite. Like, I think that's the biggest issue with the Carolina Panthers is your owner who is very, 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 very rich. I think he's like one of the richest owners in the NFL behind.
There was actually I remember an image that went around on Instagram this week about the rich owners, and he was up there.
He's up there. I think he's in the top
Third?
3. Yeah.
I think he was
Probably
third.
them, the Cowboys, and
No, I
Jerry
don't
Jones
think
is
so.
not.
No,
yeah,
he was.
Jerry
oh,
Jones
I
is
thought
not
Jerry
right.
Jones was loaded.
The Waltons, who owned the Denver Broncos now, they own Walmart.
They were up there.
And then
Walmartians.
believe I forget who the other one is, but yeah, the whole thing with the facility in Rock Hill where they were going to build a practice facility there. He wanted the small town of Rock Hill to pay for a majority of it, and then it just stopped, and then it got torn down, and now they're pitching a whole new revamp. They put a thing out of Bank of America Stadium. So, my heart goes out to the Panthers fans because I was a Browns fan for a long time, and our ownership sucked. We finally have really, really great owners in the Haslams, and they've been able to put some stability in. We just extended our coach and our general manager, which is something the Browns have never done. I think in my lifetime, usually it's whatever coach comes in, you're fired before that contract even expires. So, the Panthers, we'll see. At least the good part with the Panthers this year is if you suck, you at least get your pick, because that was the sad thing last year was you made that huge trade with the Bears.
The Bears.
And all of your suckiness didn't even count because that number 1 pick ended up going to them. So I know one of our meteorologists, Matt Bullock, he's a big Panthers fan, and it's tough.
I think I literally saw a stat at the end of last season that a season ticket ended up costing less than it does to buy all the TV packages you needed to buy in order to see every single Panthers game on TV. I mean, there were games at the end of last season, tickets were $1.
Yeah.
$1.
Yeah.
That's it.
I'm still too broke for that.
Yeah. I mean, so
You gotta
to
drive all the
Panthers
way there.
fans, good luck.
Yeah, good luck, guys.
Tepper, just
They could take the Packers
Canales.
yeah.
Good luck.
Good luck to all of them. Stay in your lane, and hopefully some good things will come. Patience is a virtue, and I think that's really big. I think, I saw it was a Patriots fan, and he was just crazy drunk on TikTok, whatever, but he was so smart in what he was saying. He's like, why the heck are you drafting a quarterback when you got no line? He's like, if you don't got a line, it don't matter if you got the best quarterback in there. He's running for his life.
What is his accent? Didn't you say he was from New York?
He was a Patriots fan, but he had a Southern accent or a Boston fan, whatever. But he was very much just talking and it's so true. I mean, I don't know how plastered this guy was or not, but everything he was saying was so true, and I believe that wholeheartedly. I mean, if you're a franchise that sucks, build your line first. Yeah. That way, when whoever you get your quarterback back there, at least you can protect them, because it doesn't matter if you put Tom Brady on the Panthers. I mean, he'll be out in the first game because he's going to be injured, So hopefully they can freshen up the line, and we'll see. You got a local guy in Xavier Leggett who got drafted this year. So.
We were talking about that draft because I think you were here with us too. Mm-hmm. He was because we wanted to see, because for my job, I would have to let everyone know if he got picked, and there was only one pick left.
I wanted to see the Bills pick because they had last pick of the first round, and I had been waiting all night long to see them make their pick. And then literally with 14 seconds left on the clock, they're like, you know what we're going to do? We're going to trade this to the Panthers and let them get Xavier Leggett. And I'm like, what are we doing?
And of course, that's the big story.
Dumb decision.
Yeah. But that's absolutely the big story because he's a Mullins kid, played at USC, now gets to stay in the Carolinas and stay with Carolina Panthers. And so I remember that because we were all standing in the studio. The show had long ended, and it happened so quickly. I was like, now I got to boot up the computer again and write a story on it.
So I picked him up on my fantasy team.
Okay, so it must have been that one. Okay, I don't want to get too much into fantasy, but I picked him up in my other league.
Yeah.
I was like, I knew I picked him up in one league, but it was you that did this one.
Yeah.
Quick little trail back before we talk about fantasy. Quick little trail back because I mentioned that I was in Canada this weekend and we were talking about high school football, and I had to ask the question, these high school footballers, are they playing with the CFL rules or the NFL rules? Because we talked about how the NFL and CFL have slight differences. I had to Google this because I only know 3 off the top of my head. There's actually 7 minor or major rule changes in the CFL. And as somebody like me who grew up watching CFL, it is so interesting to still keep learning. Like I'm never going to come on this podcast and be like, hey, I am your first choice to listen to for when it comes to everything NFL. I'm not. Most of the time you'll see or hear Tegan and Ian talking about the NFL or college football rules because you guys know that. You guys were kind of like raised in it. That being said, some of the CFL differences are pretty big. Like the CFL field is longer and wider. Wow. The CFL has 12 players on the field per team instead of 11.
Interesting.
Yes, and I always knew that one because the Saskatchewan Roughriders have like a show or like a documentary called The 13th Man, and The 13th Man is like, that's why I know there's always 12. This one, people get gripe about all the time. In the CFL, there's only 3 downs per possession instead of 4. So it's like you don't even get very far because by the time you
Why
actually
do they do that?
I don't know. Canada.
Oh, okay, got it.
They're like, we just have to be different. This was actually the norm, it says, when football was first created in the 19th century. But then people grew up and Canada's like, we like the old way. That was my like old British, like, please, sir, may I have some more accent. There's only 2 timeouts in a game. You can score a single point in the CFL, which I thought was weird because like technically you can score a single point if you go for the extra point in the NFL.
Yeah, but you get the extra point by missing it.
Yeah, that's just weird. We were talking about this the other day.
Okay, it says in the CFL, the kicking team is awarded a rouge.
You're from Canada, not me.
Doesn't rouge mean red?
Yeah, it's red in French. If the team misses a field goal or punts the ball and the receiving team does not get the ball out of their own end zone, that's the rouge. That's the extra point. Also, the goalposts have a different location in the CFL. They're at the front of the end zone instead of the back of the end zone.
What the heck? Oh, well, the field's longer, I guess, too.
Yes, it's still the same distance, I think. But it's like, it's a
And the
it's a
NFL
hazard.
used to have it that way. They used to use like the goalpost as actually like to do picks and things like that. But too many people were getting injured, so they moved it back years ago.
That makes sense, dude.
So,
I absolutely believe that makes sense. The last one is that there's no fair catch on punt returns in the CFL.
I like that.
I like that, too. Yeah.
Those are the
Run
big
it back.
differences.
Yep.
I only knew like the 3 downs, the field length, the players. Like those are the ones that I always knew. These ones actually make it a little bit easier, like after Googling it, to kind of figure out how to learn more about like the NFL or even just like college football. But
And the good news is we don't have to learn because the NFL starts tomorrow.
Yay! Well, for all of y'all listening,
it's already
it
started.
already started. I
Yeah.
wonder who won between the Chiefs and the Ravens.
Well,
Picking, though, between the Panthers and Saints,
Saints?
you can take the Saints?
I'm taking the Saints.
I always like an underdog story.
gosh.
I'm gonna take the Panthers just for
All right.
giggles.
I'll take the Saints. So
Yeah. I mean, they
Spencer
finished
Rattler
9-8
surprisingly-
last season, or 8-9, I
yeah,
think. Yeah.
they got Derek Carr starting, but
Yeah.
Spencer Rattler, who was at South Carolina, looked really good in the preseason.
Mm-hmm.
So who knows if he'll end up getting the start later in the season. But yeah, so that's Sunday kicking off at 1:00. Let the misery begin, Panther fans. Keep pounding.
I'm a 49ers fan. I don't know.
Go Bills.
But now we can talk about fantasy football very briefly because we're not trying to give away trying to give away the cow when you get the milk for free.
What?
What's that saying?
It was somewhere in there.
Somewhere in there.
don't
You
know.
know what I'm trying to say. The WMBF team has now officially drafted
Yep.
for our fantasy team or league. There are 16 teams, which is the most.
So many.
So many. So you are picking like bare pickings by the end.
Yeah.
But the only spoiler alert that I'll give you is an update from last episode. Tegan, in fact, did not get Josh Allen as a QB.
I was so
Yeah,
sad.
there was a lot of people that didn't get who they wanted. Emily really wanted Joe Burrow, and I think
Yeah.
you ended up
I
snagging
took him. But it's because I panicked. And I was at a wedding during this draft.
Yeah, you
So
could tell.
I was asleep
I
during
know,
the
the
draft.
first 3 I missed. Okay, but this is exciting for people who are listening. We are actually going to have a special guest on our next episode. It's our WMBF football draft commissioner, meteorologist Andrew Dockery. Some of you might recognize him obviously from TV, but also from the award-winning podcast, Are You Serious?
And Dining with Dockery.
Oh, Dining with Dockery.
Obviously.
This week he was at Bad Berea, but Badia? I'm going to butcher it, and I want to eat that
don't
this
know.
weekend. Absolutely. We just pitched everything for Dockery just now. But no,
Give
he's
you his
gonna,
whole life story.
yeah, we're going to have him on next week. or next episode, and we're gonna break down what the WMBF draft looked like.
Yeah, because we'll be a few weeks into it at that point too. So
We'll see who's. I was pitched to finish 16th.
I'm picked to finish 3rd somehow. So
I was right in the middle, and I felt pretty solid on mine.
In any of my fantasy drafts, so I'm only in 2, I got a D- rating.
that's insane.
I could see that.
You like actually picked yours too.
Like half of mine.
Yeah.
All right, we're not gonna spoil anymore. We'll check you out next episode.
Yep.
Bring your fantasy league information to us. Let us know who you picked, what your rating was, and
if you picked Josh Allen,
Yeah, if you
I'm
picked
jealous.
Josh Allen, will you trade? Will you trade for Deacon
Please give
Brown?
him to me.
Anyways, that's all for this episode. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.